Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast. We cover everything Major League, from spring training to the World Series. We've got your favorite club covered, from New York to Boston to LA. This is the Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast.
Welcome back to the GSMC Baseball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Baseball Network. I'm your host and best friend, Graham Llivina. And tonight, we have one hell of a show for you. Because tonight's not just like any other night. Tonight's not just like any other typical Thursday night. No, tonight is opening day. The funny thing is that I almost said opening night, and clearly that's not the case. No, it's opening day, and it's beautiful because I've been waiting all offseason for this. Last year, I felt like it was just extended spring training, right? Did you feel the same way? Like last year, I vaguely heard that the Dodgers played in the World Series, and the Rays did too, and this guy named Randy Arozarena showed up, and that was good, and Mookie was there. But it felt like the whole season was just kind of an abbreviated spring training. That they played the season and no one watched it, and in the stands there's so few people there. This had put cardboard cutouts in there just so the players didn't feel awkward. And then every time someone got a base hit, they would project fans from I don't know where, like an audience on a sitcom going, "Woo!" every time something happened. That's not baseball, it's theater. And I can't tell you how long I've waited for an actual season with people in the stands. It just feels different. It just looks different. And it's because before it wasn't baseball, and now it is. This could be the first year we're back on track. And I'm just so excited and happy that today is opening day. I've been sitting up here waiting to see what we're going to be doing. And I'm so happy that I get to share this with you. So today's format's going to be pretty simple. I'm going to talk about right now at 5 p.m. Central on opening night. Who's playing who's doing what. And a lot of teams have gotten canceled because of weather and because of coronavirus concerns. So I'm going to go ahead and bring you up to date on who's doing what, who's playing well, what happened, the results, and early indications for a brighter future. And then we'll talk about my favorite subject, which is ancient baseball history. I fear if we could do that together on this episode, we'll have a great time. So without further ado, let's talk about opening day. But first, let's talk about trivia. Yeah, trivia. I know you like that. I do. It's my favorite part of this episode. So this is trivia that I'm going to talk about first because it happened just now. This happened in the news today on opening day 2021. And you guys have to know about this because it is opening day baseball. So, Cody Bellinger of the Dodgers was batting, right? And they were playing Colorado in Coors Field, and Justin Turner was on first base. The pitch comes in, Bellinger swings, and he crushes a deep fly ball, but it's unclear if it's going to be a home run or just a loud double or something. So Justin Turner is caught between first base and second base, staring at the fly ball, descending towards the outfield, trying to get a read on it. Is it gone? Is it out? What do I do? Now, the right fielder jumps up, and it appears from Turner's perspective that he caught it. So Turner runs back to first base to tag up. However, unbeknownst to Turner, the ball was not caught. It was, in fact, a home run. And Bellinger knew this. So Bellinger rounds first and heads to second base. And he's gobsmacked because Turner runs right past him in the opposite direction to go to first base. So Bellinger is pointing at second base, telling Turner, dude, no! But Turner is hell-bent on getting to first base. So Turner now runs to first base, Bellinger is past him, and the ball is a home run. So what did the umpires do? Like, what's the play call there? How do you handle a situation? And ordinarily, I would wait till after the break to talk about the answer. But I'm doing it now. I'm doing it now because it just makes more sense chronologically. So it turns out that if you hit a home run and you pass a runner on the bases, for whatever reason, then the guy who you passed is out, and you are consigned to the base previous to which you passed him on. So, for example, if you pass the lead runner on between second and third base, you go to second base. Between third and home, you go to third base, and here, first and second, you go back to first base. I feel like maybe half of you would have gotten that right. If you're the half that would have gotten that right, go ahead, pat yourself on the back. You earned it. But what I didn't know, and this is tricky, is that in the rule book, when you're keeping a score, someone has to write down a put out. A put out's when you tag somebody or you record an out while straddling a base. But when there's a case like this, where there's a runner that passes another delinquent runner on the base paths, it's recorded as a put out. So my question to you, my real question, and this comes after the break, is which fielder gets the put out when a runner passes another on a base pursuant to a home run? While you're pondering or Googling that, let's talk about some baseball. Baseball, man, I love it. Opening day just feels different. So, by my count, 13 teams have played an actual game today. The Orioles and Red Sox were supposed to be playing on Fenway Park in Boston. But there was rain. And snow, from what I can tell. And that game is postponed till tomorrow. So Friday, the Orioles and the Red Sox will have their first ever game of the season. And I can't wait. And then, because of a completely unrelated reason, the Mets and the Nationals will not play again for an indefinite amount of time. So, the Mets and the Nats are supposed to be playing in D.C., but apparently because of coronavirus concerns, the game is now delayed. And we won't know for a while when or if it will get made up. So it looks like some of the problems of last year might still haunt us in the first few months of the season. The good news is that many teams that were scheduled to play did in fact do so. And that's the best news of all of the season. I'm really happy about that. So to start things off, let's do the Twins and the Brewers playing in Milwaukee today. And that's a game that I've been looking forward to for a while. So right now the game is still going on. It's the middle between innings of the 10th inning. So the game has passed the 9-inning mark, and now we're in the 10th inning. And currently it's tied 5-5. Bottom of the 10th, Omar Narvaez of the Milwaukee Brewers, the catcher, is batting against reliever Randy Dobnak of the Twins. Just took a ball inside, a slider from Dobnak. The count is 0-1. And currently, it looks like both teams are pretty evenly matched. The Brewers and the Twins both have scored 5 runs. They both have 10 hits. And the Twins have committed 2 errors, and the Brewers have not. It looks like the starting pitcher of this game for the Brewers was Brandon Woodruff. He went early in my friend's fantasy draft this year, so it's good that he's pitching today, making an appearance. It also looks like for the Brewers, the Twins starting pitcher was Kenta Maeda, and he was my first overall pick for a pitcher, so I'm happy that he's making an appearance too. And both guys apparently did pretty well. So Maeda went 4 innings, gave up only 1 earned run, 6 hits, struck out 5 batters. ERA so far, sample size of one game, is 2.08. And for Brandon Woodruff, the Brewers pitcher, he went 4 innings, gave up 3 earned runs, struck out 5 though, ERA of 6.75. Not great, but he's very talented, and I'm sure that he's going to bounce back pretty soon. Overall, good showing. So, recap, the Brewers, as I was talking, are now up 6-5. And I think that means they won the game. Lorenzo Cain scored. There was a challenge on the field, but got upheld. And now the Brewers apparently won the game. Wow, that was good timing. I'm glad I did the one first. All right, who's next? So that was the Brewers versus the Twins. After that, we've got the Braves and the Phillies. Love seeing that. It looks like they're also in the top of the 10th inning, tied 2-2. At bat right now is the ever-dangerous, reigning NL MVP, Freddie Freeman, batting against a reliever from the Phillies named Brogdon. Let's check it out. So both teams have done similarly. Both made 1 error, scored 2 runs. The Phillies have 8 hits. The Braves have 7 hits. And it looks like Acuna has gone 2 for 4. Albies is over 5 strikeout. Freeman is over 4 above a walk. Looks like Darno got a hit. Looks like Riley got a hit. Christian Bache got a hit. Looks like Max Fried started, and he went 5 innings, gave up 2 earned runs, struck out 8. It's pretty good, struck out 8. We've seen Tyler Matzek, AJ Minter, and Will Smith make an appearance this game. Looks like Smith struck out the side. Pretty good. And the Phillies, they started Aaron Nola, who went 6.2 innings, gave up 2 earned runs, struck out 6. Very good as well. Archie Bradley, my Diamondbacks transplant, pitched 1 third of an inning, walked a batter. They have Neris and Brogdon pitching. And it looks like Andrew McCutchen got a hit. It looks like Rhys Hoskins got a hit. Bryce Harper got a hit. JT Realmuto got 2 hits. Alec Baum, who was my risky pick for the fantasy draft my friends made, is 0 for 2. That's going to hurt. Didi Gregorius, went 1 for 4, but struck out 3 times. One more, he's going to get a free sandwich from Subway. John Segura went 1 for 4. Adam Hazley went 1 for 3. And that's pretty good altogether. So it looks like now at bat is Marcelo Ozuna playing left field. He's 1 for 4 so far. And this was after Freddie Freeman grounded out. Okay. And it looks like right now on third base is Ozzy Albies. And if the Braves get him in, they'll be up 3-2 in the top of the 10th inning, which means that the Phillies will have to tie the game up or make 2 runs count in order to win the game in their half of the 10th inning. So that's the Braves and the Phillies, bitter rivals till the end. And then we've got the Dodgers and the Rockies playing in Coors Field. Now, if you remember, at the beginning of the episode, I told you about how if you pass a runner when you're trying to round the base, then the batter is out and stuff like that. And that happened at this game I'm talking about right now. So somehow, some way, the Dodgers and the Rockies played, Bellinger hit a home run, and Turner got mixed up, and now that run didn't count. So Bellinger got a single, but Turner was called out, and that run didn't count, which matters because the game is now 4-6, Rockies ahead. And if that run had counted, the Dodgers would be tied up by now, but it didn't. So, as is typical for Coors Field, the Dodgers have 11 hits, the Rockies have 10 hits. Pitching right now is Yency Almonte, and at bat is Chris Taylor. Super utility man. So top of the 7th right now. Yency's pitching. First appearance of the season. Chris Taylor is now 1 for 2. Now looking at individual accomplishments, Mookie Betts is now 2 for 4. And during our fantasy draft, my co-host, Thomas, actually picked Mookie number 1 overall. Good choice, Thomas. Good choice. So he's 2 for 4 so far. Corey Seager is 1 for 2 with 2 walks. Good. Justin Turner is 1 for 3 with an RBI. Bellinger is 2 for 3 with an RBI and a walk. Max Muncy is 1 for 3. Chris Taylor's 1 for 2. Gavin Lux is 1 for 3. Austin Barnes has 2 walks but no hits. And Kershaw Wow. Clayton Kershaw has 2 hits in 3 at-bats. And he scored a run, too. I love that guy so much. I actually met Clayton Kershaw once at a youth camp, and he was super nice, very friendly, signed 2 autographs for me and my friend. I enjoy talking to him. Maybe I'll make an entire episode about him someday, but for now, Clayton Kershaw is a guy I'll always root for. So it looks like that on the mound, he went 5 2/3 innings, gave up 10 hits, 5 earned runs though, struck out 2 and walked 1. So he hit way better than he pitched today, which is unfortunate. Then Corey Nebo came in and struck out the 1 batter he faced, and that catches up with the top of the 7th inning right now, down by 2. Taylor is now down 2-2 in the count. Took a ball, a foul ball, a ball, and another foul. Yancey's throwing about 95 miles an hour, bringing the heat. And on the Rockies side, it looks like Raimel Tapia, the left fielder for the Rockies today, went 1 for 4 of 2 RBIs. Josh Fuentes went 1 for 4. You know, Fuentes is actually the cousin of the now displaced Nolan Arenado. So Josh Fuentes is playing third base, the same position that his cousin played a month before he was traded to the division rival St. Louis Cardinals. Just think about that for a minute. Getting traded for your cousin, that's just incredible. Next up is Trevor Story. He's 2 for 3. Charlie Blackmon's 0 for 3. CJ Cron is 1 for 3. It looks like Diaz, the catcher, is 1 for 3. Chris Owings is 3 for 3. You know, Chris Owings played for the Diamondbacks for a few years, and let's just say he never did that with us. And Garrett Hampson is playing center field. He's 1 for 2, although he's really more of a shortstop and second baseman than he is an outfielder. Pitching-wise, they've got Herman Marquez on the mound. I picked him for a fantasy league too. He's good. He pitched 4 innings today, 6 hits, 1 earned run, 6 walks. 6 walks and 2 strikeouts, and somehow has an ERA of just 2.25. That talent. Overall, good game. The Rockies were up 6-4, top of 7th inning, opening day. Next up is my Diamondbacks playing against the San Diego Padres. And the incredible thing about that is the Diamondbacks are winning. Wow. I never thought that'd be the case. Okay. So it looks like Diamondbacks are playing at Petco Park in San Diego. The Diamondbacks are playing. It's the bottom of the 6th inning, so the Padres are batting. The D-backs are up 7-6. And it looks like batting is Fernando Tatis Jr. You know, Jr. is now the second most popular player on fantasy draft boards behind Ronald Acuna Jr. And for good reason. He's very talented. So Diamondbacks are up. So far, they've scored 7 runs, gone 11 hits, in just 5.5 innings. And the Padres have scored 6 runs and 8 hits, main error. So the Diamondbacks, so far, Josh Rojas is 0 for 4. He's a shortstop for tonight. Ketel Marte is 4 for 4 with 2 runs and RBI. Wow, he's had a big game. Chris Walker is now 1 for 3. He's a first baseman with a walk. Good, I like him. Then we've got David Peralta, who's 0 for 4 with a strikeout. And then we've got Asdrubal Cabrera, I think, playing third base, 2 for 3 with 3 RBIs. Then we've got Eduardo Escobar playing second base tonight, 0 for 3 with a run scored. Then we've got Pavin Smith, the first baseman turned right fielder in first overall draft pick 2017, playing right field today, 1 for 2. Stephen Vogt, the catcher, 1 for 3 with an RBI and a run scored. And the pitcher, Madison Bumgarner, who is now 1 for 2. He got a hit. On the mound, Bumgarner pitched 4 innings, gave up 6 earned runs, 7 hits, 6 strikeouts though, pretty good. 3 walks, gave up 2 home runs. ERA, 13.50. Kevin Ginkel pitched an inning. Stefan Krishna is pitching right now. And that's the line score for the Diamondbacks. For the Padres, they had Yu Darvish on the mound, who went 4 innings, gave up 4 earned runs, struck out 6, but gave up 2 home runs. Ouch. Tim Hill and Keon Kela came in the mound and pitched as well, but who knows. As I speak, Fernando Tatis Jr. just struck out against Stephon Christian. Now, Tommy Pham went 1 for 3. Tatis Jr. went 1 for 4 with 2 strikeouts. Manny Machado, who's batting right now, is 0 for 3 of a strikeout. Eric Hosmer, first baseman, is 2 for 3 with 2 RBIs and a run scored. Will Myers, playing right field, is 1 for 2 with 2 runs scored, an RBI, and a walk. Jake Cronenworth, playing second base, is 1 for 1 with 2 runs scored and 2 walks. Great day. Jurickson Profar, former top prospect in baseball, is now 0 for 2 with a walk. Victor Caratini, the offseason acquisition from the Cubs, is 2 for 3 with 3 RBIs. Good deal. And that brings us to the end of a 20-minute mark of this episode. After the break, we'll hear from me more about the other teams on opening day, how they're doing, what they did, and all you need to know only on the GSMC Baseball Podcast. Stay tuned, and thank you for watching.
This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
Welcome back to the GSMC Baseball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Network. I'm your host and best friend, Graham Llivina. And tonight, we're talking about opening day. Who did what, who scored what, the scores, the rundowns, all you need to know, only on the GSMC Baseball Podcast. But first, the answer to your trivia question. Before the break, I asked you a difficult question. Let's say a batter hits a home run, but in doing so, rounding the bases, he passes another teammate. So if there's a runner on first base and the batter hits a home run and he's rounding first, heading towards second, and on the way there, he passes a teammate who's just standing there, what happens? Is it a home run? Is it a double? Is it a single? What's the ruling? And the answer, according to Rule 708H, the batter is awarded the base pursuant to which he just passed. And the runner that the batter passed is now out. And the reason I'm talking about this is because earlier today, in a game between the Dodgers and the Rockies at Coors Field, this exact same play happened. Cody Bellinger crushed a home run to right field. And the problem was that the home run looked like an out. It wasn't hit very far, so the right fielder ran towards the fence and jumped for it. And Justin Turner, the runner on first base, thought that it was an out. Or he thought that maybe it was a double or something, but for whatever reason, he ran to first base to tag up. And Bellinger, who knew immediately that it was a home run, he passed his teammate on first base. So then the question is, who's out? So Turner was ruled out, and Bellinger was given first base. And the question I asked you before the break, the trivia question, was this: who gets the putout in the rule book? And the answer is the fielder nearest to the play. So in this case, I'm presuming that that answer will be the second baseman of the Rockies, who was closest to Turner and Bellinger when they intersected at the base path. That's my take. But I just thought that was just an incredible question because I never considered it before. I knew, obviously, the rule about hitting a home run and passing somebody on the base path and getting it out. But I didn't realize that there was a put out associated with that. It never crossed my mind. So the fact that there is an actual rule book about it, and a question, and a trivia about it, is just incredible to me. And on that note, here's another. Let's say that there's a situation where a pitcher is pitching, as you'd expect. Let's say it's the late, great Mariano Rivera. So Rivera's on the mound, closing the game out for the Yankees. And at bat is, let's say, Nomar Garciaparra. And Garciaparra swings at a cutter from Rivera, but he hits it very softly. It's almost like a swinging bunt. So Garciaparra swings hard, swings for the fences, and just hits a bunt. He hits a tiny squibber off to the left of the mound. And Garciaparra, who was fast, just runs. He runs for first base, and Rivera moves to field the bunt. But Rivera just whiffs. He puts his glove down, and the ball squirts under him. Garciaparra is basically safe at first base already. So Rivera takes his glove off, and in a moment of frustration, hurls it, throws it at the ball. Just angry, frustrated, like, ugh. Takes his glove off and throws it at the baseball that's moving in play. And let's say that he makes contact with the ball. The question is, what happens? Is that allowed? Is it legal? Is it okay to throw your glove at a ball that's in play? If not, then what's the penalty for that? And while you're pondering that, let's talk more about opening day facts and figures from the first game of the season in baseball. So, we talked about the Diamondbacks, we talked about the Dodgers, we talked about lots of good teams. But right now, let's talk about the Royals and the Rangers. So the Rangers and the Royals are playing right now in Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City. Great field. I had this one friend in med school named Nick who went to Kauffman Stadium once. Told me that it was a big field with great hot dogs, by the way, great hot dogs, in Kansas City, Missouri. Check it out. I endorse it. So during the game, it's being played right now. It's the bottom of the 8th inning. Texas is down 9-14. And at bat, at the very moment, is Hanser Alberto, the third baseman, against Colby Allard, the left-handed pitcher. Colby's actually from Georgia. I used to go to school in Macon, so small world. At any rate, the Rangers have tallied 14 hits in 8 innings. Playing for them right now at shortstop is Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, who is now 1 for 4 in 4 bats. And left field is David Dahl. And I actually met David Dahl because he's from Birmingham. He went to Oak Mountain High School, just about 15 miles from my house. Small world. He is now 3 for 5 at opening day. Batting third in right field is Joey Gallo, who is now batting third in the lineup, right field, 2 for 3, with a run scored, 2 RBIs, 2 walks. Batting fourth is Nick Solak, playing second base this evening, 1 for 4 with 2 runs scored. Batting fifth is Nate Lowe at first base, 2 for 5. Batting sixth is Brock Holt at third base, 1 for 2. Evan White is DHing. I think he was from the Mariners originally. They must have brought him over. Batting eighth is Leonidas Taveras in center field, 0 for 5, with 4 strikeouts. Wow. Golden sombrero right now. Batting ninth is Trevino, the catcher, 2 for 4. Now pitching for the Rangers was Kyle Gibson, who lasted only, and guys, buckle up, only 1/3 of an inning, gave up 4 hits, 5 earned runs, walked 3, for an ERA of 135. Wow. If that holds, that's the worst ERA in history for any pitcher ever. Of course, it won't hold because Gibson's a good pitcher. So, he's going to get back on track really soon, and we hope to see his midseason form next start. For the Royals, they scored 15 runs in 8 innings, and they're still playing. They're at bat right now. Hanser Alberto is still in the batter's box. So, batting first for them is Whit Merrifield, who is now 3 for 5. Andrew Benintendi, the transplant from the Red Sox, is now 1 for 5 with 2 runs scored. Carlos Santana, the singer, is now 1 for 3 with 3 runs scored. He walked 3 times this game. Batting fourth is the catcher, Salvador Perez, who's now 0 for 4, but has 2 runs scored because he walked once in the game. And I think he reached on error because the Rangers have 3 errors this game so far. Batting fifth is Jorge Soler, the DH, who is now 2 for 2 with 2 runs scored. Batting sixth is Hunter Dozier, 0 for 4, playing third base. Batting seventh is Isbel, who is now 3 for 5. Batting eighth is Taylor, 3 for 5. And batting ninth is Nicky Lopez, who's now 2 for 4. And starting for this game was Mitch Keller, who is now, well, I say now, but he pitched 1 1/3 innings, gave up 6 earned runs, 2 walks. So it looks like by the second inning, both starters were out of the game. Both of them were just taken out. Wow. Anyway, the game is now 9-15. The Rangers are only 6 runs out of it. Bottom of the 8th, 2-2, 2 outs for the Rangers. Maybe they make a comeback. Let's find out. All right, so that's the game between the Rangers and the Royals. Coming up next, very soon, is the White Sox and the Angels. That game's between Lucas Giolito and Dylan Bundy. Both aces, both have a lot to prove this season. Good game. Watch it. Batting later, too, is the Astros and the Athletics. My favorite player, Zach Greinke's on the bump against Chris Bassett of the Oakland A's. And you know, man, I don't like the Astros, but I love Zach Greinke. Zach Greinke is a great pitcher, amazing human being, just a funny guy altogether. I really like Zach Greinke. Great pitcher. Playing later tonight at 10:10 p.m. Eastern Time is Kevin Gossman and Marco Gonzalez of the Mariners. Giants and the Mariners for an interleague matchup. I'm guessing that game they're going to be using a DH. Let's find out. And a game that just ended right now was the Blue Jays and the Yankees. Just now. Let's take a look at that. So it looks like between the Blue Jays and the Yankees, the Blue Jays won the game 3-2. They scored 8 hits. The Yankees had 6 hits. And the winner was Justin Romano, a reliever. And it looks like the loser was a guy named Nelson from the Yankees. And the save was given to Merriweather of the Blue Jays. And the Blue Jays had a good game. They had 8 hits and 10 innings. The Yankees had 6 hits and 10 innings. And for the Toronto lineup, I'll go down it right now. Marcus Semien, the second baseman, newly acquired, went 0 for 5. Ouch. Batting second was Cavan Biggio. I don't know if it's Cavan or Cavan, but let's say Cavan Biggio was 0 for 5 with 3 strikeouts. Bo Bichette, the shortstop, was 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts. So the first 3 hitters apparently went 2, 3, and 2 strikeouts. It's almost 3 strikeouts per the first 3 hitters. That's a lot. Batting fourth was Teoscar Hernandez from the Dominican Republic. He went 3 for 4 with 2 runs scored, an RBI, and a home run. Good day for Sohar. Good day. Batting fifth was Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Vladdy. Last year's winner of the Home Run Derby. Love him. 1 for 2 with 2 walks in the game. Batting sixth was Lourdes Gurriel Jr., 1 for 4, 1 RBI, 2 strikeouts. Not bad. Batting seventh was DH Rowdy Tellez, the first baseman / DH of the Toronto Blue Jays, 0 for 4. Batting eighth was Randall Grichuk, 2 for 4 with 1 RBI. And I don't know if you guys know this or not, but Grichuk was actually drafted 1 spot above Hall of Famer Mike Trout. Did you know that? So in the draft where Mike Trout was chosen, I think it was 2012, Grichuk was chosen number 12 overall, and Mike Trout was chosen just one pick behind him. So obviously Grichuk hasn't performed at the same level, but it's a fun note nevertheless. At the time, they thought he was better than Mike Trout. Now batting ninth is the catcher Danny Jansen. He's a guy that wears those goggles behind the plate. Good guy, I like him. Defensive catcher. And pitching for them was Hyunjin Ryu, who pitched 5 innings, gave up 4 hits, 2 earned runs, 5 strikeouts, ERA 3.38. Pretty good. And of course, they won the game already, with the winner being Justin Romano, the reliever. Pitched 1 inning, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts. And by the way, Romano is on my fantasy team. So I'm really happy about that. We drafted him last night. When I looked at him, I thought, I don't know, man. Maybe Kimbrel, maybe Chapman. I don't know. But we got Justin Romano because he had a great year last year. He's doing great this year so far. Love that guy. And for the Yankees, the Bronx Bombers, batting first was DJ LeMahieu, 0 for 4. Second was Aaron Judge. Wow, batting second for a big guy. I thought he'd be batting third. Batting second, Judge went 1 for 5. Third was Aaron Hicks, center fielder, 0 for 4, 3 strikeouts. Batting fourth was Giancarlo Stanton, 0 for 5, 3 strikeouts. Batting fifth was Gleyber Torres, 1 for 4, 2 strikeouts. Batting fifth was Giovanni Urshela, 0 for 4. Batting seventh was Gallery Sanchez, the catcher. Gabby's a retired first baseman. But Gallery Sanchez went 2 for 3 for home run. Batting eighth was Jay Bruce, 0 for 3. Batting ninth was Clint Frazier, who went 2 for 3. Good job for him. Clint Frazier's been the guy who's been perpetually a minor leaguer, so I'm happy that he's now doing well at the big league level. He was starting lineup tonight, went 2 for 3. Good game. Great to see that. And Brett Gardner pinch ran in the 8th inning. And remember, the Blue Jays won the game 3-2. Starting for the Yankees was Garrett Cole, who pitched 5 and 3rd innings, gave up 2 earned runs, but struck out 8. Now, he did give a home run, I think in the first inning, to Teoscar Hernandez. And I saw that on replay. And second that Garrett Cole threw it, I saw him smack his glove in just anger as Teoscar crushed the ball to left field bleachers. Love seeing that. But no, in all seriousness, Cole had a lot of strikeouts, only 2 walks in the game. So for his FIP, I'm sure it's low. So overall, good game for Garrett Cole. After that, the Indians and the Tigers played. And the funny thing about this game is that the first home run of the season was not hit by Acuna, not hit by Soto, not hit by Tatis. It was hit by veteran Miguel Cabrera, who hit number 448 of his career, a home run off Shane Bieber to opposite field. Amazing. I saw that game live. It was incredible to see this legend, this absolute legend, hit a home run like that on opening day. Love to see that. So the Indians lost the game 3-2. The Tigers won the game 3-2. And the Indians scored 6 hits. The Tigers got 5 hits. Overall, even game. What I like so far about the season is that only one game so far about the Royals and the Rangers has been lopsided. For the most part, they've been very close. For the Cleveland Indians, Jordan Luplow went 0 for 3, playing center field. Cesar Hernandez went 1 for 4, playing second base. Jose Ramirez went 1 for 3, playing third base. I believe it's Edwin Rosario went 1 for 4, playing left field. Franmil Reyes went 0 for 3, playing DH. Josh Naylor, went 1 for 4, playing right field. And Yu Chen Cheng, playing first base, went 0 for 2. Roberto Perez went 1 for 2 as catcher. And I believe it's Andres Jimenez went 0 for 1 as the shortstop. And pitching for them was Shane Bieber, the Biebs. He pitched 6 innings, gave up 3 earned runs, 12 strikeouts. 12 strikeouts. That's huge. So even though he lost the game, he had 3 earned runs, a home run to Miggy Cabrera. He got 12 strikeouts. That's a lot. If you had him in your fantasy list, good game. Brian Shaw, the former Diamondback, 1 inning, 1 walk, 1 strikeout. Got a hold. Pretty good. Playing for the Detroit Tigers this year was Matt Boyd, the left-handed pitcher. 5 2/3 innings, only 3 hits allowed, 4 walks, 2 strikeouts. The funny thing is that by reference WAR, which prioritizes ERA over FIP, Boyd will get more credit than Bieber today, although under FIP, Bieber is the winner. So if you look at Baseball Reference tonight and look at Fangraphs reference, or just Fangraphs actually, Shane Bieber and Matt Boyd will flip positions when it comes to WAR, or who did better tonight, which is fascinating to me. But for the Tigers, Robbie Grossman went 0 for 1 as a left fielder with 3 walks. Good game. Jeimer Candelario went 1 for 4, playing third base. Willie Castro, the shortstop, went 1 for 4. Miguel Cabrera, playing first base, 1 for 4 with 2 RBIs, hit a home run. Jonathan Scope went 1 for 3, playing second base. Nomar Mazara, playing DH, went 0 for 4. Wilson Ramos went 0 for 3, the catcher. Victor Reyes, the former D-back, went 0 for 4. And Jahmai Jones, no, actually, it's Jacoby Jones. Jacoby Jones went 1 for 3 as a center fielder. Overall, decent game. And I believe that concludes it for this episode, or at least this segment of the episode. Because coming up next, we've got even more for you. We've got stories about baseball, stories about the game, its legends, funny stuff. It's opening day. It's April Fool's. Why not treat you guys to a great episode? Coming up next, we've got fun stories from Tales of a Dugout. Listen up only at the GSMC Baseball Podcast. Thank you very much.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome back to the GSMC Baseball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Network. I'm your host and best friend, Graham Llivina. And we're still talking about baseball today. Funny enough. So last segment, I asked you guys a simple question. Let's say a pitcher takes his glove off and throws it at a baseball that's currently in play. And let's say he makes contact. What happens? What's the penalty? What's the deal? What happens when you throw a glove and you hit a ball that's in motion? And the answer is automatic triple. Yes, you heard that right. Not a double, not a dead ball. If you take your glove off and hit a baseball in motion, the batter gets an automatic triple. And yeah, that's truth. I got the idea from my friend Darren, the same Darren who told me to do an episode about the Orioles, who wrote me and just said, "Hey Graham, I got a question for you." And I was like, "Go on." And so he was like, so what happens when you take a glove off, hit a baseball? And I was like, that's a triple. That's a triple. And he was dismayed to hear that I knew the answer to that question. He thought that was a real brain teaser. So maybe you did too. But the answer is, you take your glove off, you hit a ball, automatic triple. Now here's a harder question. Calm down. You guys are the smartest, best looking podcast listeners in history. I know you got this. So, for a long time, it was totally legal to take your glove to the field, play an inning, and leave the glove out on the field in between innings. For a long time, you would play shortstop, and when the inning was over, you take your glove off, tuck it behind second base, and just walk off the field. So between innings, there'd be like 9 gloves on the field. And the other team would get there and move the gloves out of the way to play baseball. But if a batted ball hit a glove on the ground, it was considered a casualty. Like it was still a live ball. If you hit a baseball and it went into the glove of the fielder who already left the play. So oftentimes, a batter would hit a baseball that went into his own glove that he left there the last inning. My question is, in what year was it made illegal to leave your glove on the field? And while you're pondering that, and here's a hint, it's way later than you expect. Way later. I got this wrong by like 100 years. While you're pondering that, I've got stories for you. So many awesome baseball stories, just fun April Fools, just prank stories. But first, I have to tell you about the last game of the day. Yep, this was a game between the Pirates and the Cubs, played on opening day of this year. And here's a highlight. The Pirates won the game against the Cubbies at Wrigley Field 5-3. They scored 9 hits, gave up 3 runs. The Cubbies only got 2 hits all game, and yet they scored 3 runs. How does that work? Anyway, starting that game was Chad Cole for the Pirates. He pitched 3 innings, gave up 2 runs, only 1 earned, 3 walks, 2 strikeouts. Decent game overall from a guy who probably should not be an opening starter. And for the Cubbies, Kyle Hendricks pitched 3 innings, gave up 3 earned runs, 4 strikeouts for an ERA of 9. So actually, Chad Cole outpitched Kyle Hendricks. Awesome. And also in the game today was Richard Rodriguez. He was a guy that I picked up for my fantasy team. And Don Underwood, and Nick Howard, Chris Stratton, Andrew Chafin, the former Diamondback, Rex Brothers, lots of good pitchers. Now batting for the Pirates, playing second base was Adam Frazier. He went 2 for 4 of 2 walks. Batting second was the top prospect and the best third base prospect in all of baseball, Ke'Bryan Hayes. Ke'Bryan Hayes is the son of former Yankees third baseman Charlie Hayes. In, I believe, 1998, Charlie Hayes caught the last out of the World Series that year between the Yankees and the Padres. And now his son is a major league player. Well, as the TV show used to say, good luck, Charlie. Because Ke'Bryan, his son, is just tearing it up in the big leagues. Ke'Bryan went 1 for 5 today with 2 RBIs. 1 walk, 1 strikeout. OPS so far of 1.133. If he does that all year, he'll be an MVP. Great player. Batting third was left fielder Brian Reynolds. He went 1 for 4. Batting fourth was first baseman Colin Moran, 0 for 2, but with 3 walks. Overall, not bad. Batting fifth was shortstop Kevin Newman, who went to the University of Arizona in Tucson. He went 2 for 5 with, I think, 2 singles. Then batting sixth was Gregory Polanco, 0 for 4. Batting seventh was Jacob Stallings, the catcher, 2 for 4. Batting 8th was Anthony Alford, the center fielder, 0 for 3. 2 walks, though. Batting 9th, remember this is a National League game, was the pitcher Chad Cole, 0 for 1. Now for the Cubbies, batting first was Ian Happ, the center fielder / utility man extraordinaire, 0 for 3. Second was Wilson Contreras. William Contreras is Wilson's younger brother, plays in the Braves system. Wilson went 0 for 3, with 2 runs scored though. Batting third was Anthony Rizzo, 1 for 3, with an RBI. Good game. Batting cleanup was Chris Bryant, 0 for 3, 1 walk. Batting fifth was Jock Peterson, 0 for 2, with a walk and an RBI. Batting sixth was Baez, and he went 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. Ouch. And then Jason Hayward was after him, went 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts too. Ouch. Batting 8th was David Bodie, went 0 for 1 with a walk and a strikeout. And of course, batting 9th was all the pitchers for the Cubs. Hendricks, Workman, Brothers, Sogard, who pinch hit, I guess, went 1 for 2 with a run scored. Good for him. Overall, though, the Pittsburgh Pirates prevailed, and they're now 1-0 in the season. They won the game 5-3. Good job. Good job, team. And now, with the regular season out of the way, I want to bring your attention to historical seasons. Seasons of the past. I've got great stories for you right now. Let's do this. So this is a story about Stan Bonson. Stan Bonson was a pitcher for the American League many years ago. He won the AL Rookie of the Year award in 1968. He went 17-12 as a starting pitcher with 2.05 ERA. And even though Bonson pitched for the Reds and many other teams during his 16-year career, he says the Yankees were the best team of all. He loved the Yankees. He said he had such a fun time with the Yankees. He tells a story here. In the book that I love and enjoy, Tales from the Ballpark, by Mike Shannon. So Stan Bonson says that when he was with the Yankees, his manager, Ralph Houck, called his bullpen the playpen, because so many of the members of the playpen were just practical jokers who just had no serious ability about them. And Bonson was one of them. So Bonson, in 1970, when he was a young player, had a batter's contest with the pitchers on his team. And remember, in 1970, there was no DH. So he, Fritz Peterson, Mike Kekich, and Mel Stottlemyre had a little fun. And they pledged that they would all enter a friendly competition. And the pitcher that had the most hits during the season would win a prize. So Stottlemyre and Kekich were on one team, and Fritz Peterson and Stan Bonson were on the second team. And the deal was this. A single was worth 1 point. A double was worth 2 points. A triple 3 points, and a home run 4 points. And every time that a pitcher got a base hit, they kept track. And the team that had the most points at the end of the year would have a party. They all go to dinner, and the team, the 2 pitchers that had the most points, would have a just wild party. Drink all the champagne, all the wine, order all the hors d'oeuvres, order all they wanted at a restaurant, and the losing team had to pay for all of it. Pretty good deal, right? And as it was, Stottlemyre and Kekich won the tournament. They won very easily. So Stottlemyre and Kekich won. They picked a restaurant in New York City called Trader Vic's. So Bonson and Peterson and Kekich and Stottlemyre all showed up, right? And Stottlemyre and Kekich just went crazy. They ordered wine, they ordered 4 or 5 appetizers, they ordered hors d'oeuvres, they ordered shrimp, lobster, all of this crazy food. And the entire dinner, Bonson and Peterson said nothing. Not a word. They said nothing. So Stottlemyre's ordering caviar, Kekich is ordering lobster, and the entire time Bonson isn't saying a word. And they didn't understand what was going on there. But Stoudemire, of course, was just having a great time. So he just kept running up the bill. He kept ordering more and more food and having a great time. And what Bahnsen didn't tell Stoudemire was that he got a hold of Stoudemire's American Express card before the dinner. He called the restaurant and made arrangements. And unbeknownst to Stoudemire, the entire time, the food was getting charged to his account. So the caviar mined from New Zealand was getting charged to Stoudemire's American Express card. So next day, Stoudemire's wife looked at the bill, saw a $4,000 charge, and blew her stack and just lost it. And she was like, "Babe, what's going on here?" And Stoudemire, of course, was furious about that, but it was just a fun game. And of course, Bahnsen paid Stoudemire back. It was all fun and games, but that was just a funny story. And here's a story up next that I like even more than that one. This is about a batting practice pitcher who was too smart for his own good. So there's this guy named Tim Neville, who was a batting practice pitcher for the Mariners. And if you don't know, the name is exactly what it sounds like. So Neville's job was just to take a bucket of balls before batting practice and just toss baseballs for the batters to hit. He'd throw a baseball down the middle of the plate, batter would swing, and Neville's job was just to throw baseballs over and over again to the hitters. And after the practice, he'd go out at the outfield and gather all the baseballs up, put into a bucket, and ice his arm. And whenever a batter wanted to hit again, Neville had to be ready. So at all hours of the day, from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. before the game, Neville had to be ready on a moment's notice to throw batting practice to anybody who asked. It's a job that didn't pay very well. And it's a job that was very demanding. But Tim Neville did it because he loved baseball. So Neville's job, he was told explicitly, was if anybody wants batting practice, you must throw to them. No exceptions. And Neville was like, "Are you sure, boss?" And they were like, "Yes. Your job is to throw BP, no matter what." So Tim Neville is just hanging around the stadium one day at the Kingdome. And Gaylord Perry, the pitcher, is standing around. 2 nights ago, Gaylord Perry won his 300th game in the big leagues. And he was still very pleased about that. Of course, Gaylord Perry's 300th win was a big moment for him, but also for the Mariners, who had never before had a Mariners pitcher win 300 games in their uniform. So there was a Gaylord Perry day, a party thrown for him on behalf of the Mariners. So Perry, to say that he was, let's just say, elated by that, would be an understatement. So Perry is hanging around feeling pretty cocky, and he sees the batting practice pitcher, Tim Neville. And Perry says, "Hey man, are you loose?" And Neville says, "Well, no, but who am I going to throw to anyway, And Perry says, "Me. Pitch to me. I want BP." Now, the problem, of course, is that Gaylord Perry is a pitcher in the American leagues, right? He doesn't hit. But Neville's job was, again, I quote, "throw BP to whoever wants it." So Tim Neville literally just gets warmed up. He plays catch with Gaylord Perry, throws in the outfield for a little bit, gets loose. Gaylord then goes to get to bat. They send home plate. Neville brings out the protective screen. And Neville starts throwing BP to Gaylord Perry, a 39-year-old pitcher for an American League Seattle Mariners team. And Perry, of course, just hits baseballs. And there is nobody at all to shag for the pitcher. So baseballs are everywhere. They're in the outfield. Perry hits. And all those nice baseballs, the game-ready, nice balls, are done. So then the pitcher, Tim Neville, tells Gaylord Perry, "Hey man, all these balls are out. You hit all of them out." And Perry says, "Do you have any more?" And Tim Neville says, "Well, there's about maybe 5-6 dozen baseballs in the dugout that haven't been even opened yet. Therefore, tomorrow's game." And Perry says, "All right, man, bring him out here. Bring him out." So Tim Neville goes to the dugout, opens up new baseballs for tomorrow's game, brings them to the mound, and throws them to a pitcher that's old enough to be your grandpa. And of course, they hit more baseballs. And then, after about an hour of this, Neville's done. So he goes to the shower to take a shower and change. And Vada Pinson, the outfielder, an actual hitter, sees Neville and says, "Hey man, you loose?" Getting ready to take some swings. And Pinson says, "No, I'm done." Pinson says, "What? Why? Who you been throwing to?" And Tim Neville says, "Gaylord Perry." And Pinson says, "What? You're not supposed to throw the pitchers. It's the American League. They don't even bat this league." And Tim Neville says, "Yeah, man, but, my job is to throw to anybody who wants it." And Pinson, at this point, is staring at Neville like he's got 4 eyes. And Bill Plummer, the bullpen coach, is sitting around. At one point, Plummer asks Neville, "Hey, what exactly did you throw to Gaylord Perry? What'd you throw him?" And Neville says, "I threw all the extra batting practice balls, and then I threw the game-ready balls, and then I threw tomorrow's game-ready balls." And at this point, Plummer is like, "Oh my God, no, dude, no." And he runs off towards the office to make sure that that's what's going on. And the next day, Gaylord Perry was hanging around the outfield, and Neville walks up to him and says, "Hey man, I threw all the baseballs to you yesterday, and I got a lot of crap for that." And as Perry puts it, he signed a lot of baseballs and merchandise for Neville's cousins and nephews. So, another story that had a wholesome ending to me. I like that one. And later, Neville writes that he was supposed to be paid $20 per game. Just $20 per game. And that was usually barely enough to cover parking in those days. So Neville keeps track of all his games. He pitches BP for 51 games that season. And by season's end, he's owed $1,020. But he's told by his friends that the owner, George Argios, is a penny pincher and he will not pay Tim Neville. So Neville shows up with a request for the $1,000-odd that he's owed for BP. And the owner says, No, I'm not going to pay you. You're nothing. And so then, Tim Neville goes to the Seattle Times and tells the story about how he's owed $1,000 for his BP. And the Times writes an article saying, Neville's job is to throw BP so the Mariners sluggers can hit the ball to the infield, and just kind of trash talks the team. And by the time the article came out, the owner was so embarrassed, he paid Tim Neville the $1,020 that he was owed. So, the point is, if you complain to the manager, you will get paid. And that's it for this segment. Stay tuned for even more baseball stories and the answer to the trivia question, only on the GSMC Baseball Podcast. Thank you very much.
Want to know the latest in soccer? Then listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast. From MLS, the World Cup, and the Premier League, we've got you covered. The latest updates, the hottest matches, and news on the league's top players. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast.
David Beckham scores the goal to take England all the way to the World Cup finals.
Listen now.
And we're back. Happy April Fool's Day. Happy opening day. This is the GSMC Baseball Podcast, brought to you by your friend Graham Llivina. But first, I would like to introduce our first guest of the podcast series. That's right, it's our first guest. I've been meaning to bring her on for a long time. Please welcome my cat, Lily. Now, if you don't know, Lily's my cat. She's been my cat for about 8 years now. She's a Tonkinese mix. And between sessions, I went to use the restroom, and while the door was open, my cat just kind of crawled in here. So I came back to the studio, and she was on the chair, And she was sitting there, and I thought, what better way to break off April Fool's Day than bring on my cat to talk about just anything she wants. So, Lily, how are you doing today? All right, she's being pretty quiet right now. Lily, do you have anything you'd like to plug? Anything you'd like to endorse right now? Yeah, folks, she's really quiet right now. Lily's lived with us for about 8 years now. You think she learned English, but no, she's really stubborn. She doesn't want to learn English. She wants to just speak cat. So we hope it's going to change, but for now, we're happy to have her in our lives. Anyway, back to baseball. Before the segment break, I asked you guys a question. In what year did Major League Baseball ban the act of leaving your glove out on the field? Before, it was totally legal to leave your glove between innings on the baseball field. And at some point, baseball said that you couldn't do it anymore. You take your glove to the dugout with you before innings. My question is, in what year was that allowed to happen? And the answer is 1954. That's right. 1954 was the last year you were allowed to take your glove to second base, play an inning with that there, then take it off, leave it at second base, and just walk off the field. So almost like landmines. You play baseball, and then there was all these different gloves and paraphernalia on the field for no reason. I can't believe that was ever in the rules, but it took almost 70 years from the first Major League game to the last game that was allowed for the tradition to break. I think that's just incredible. So anyway, that was the last time that ever happened. 1954. Many times, a batter would hit a baseball, it would go inside a glove on the field, and the fielder would have a terrible time trying to get it out, and the batter would have an easy infield single. Happened all the time. Anyway, I've got more baseball stories for you. This one's about the pitcher Gary Bell. And Gary Bell played for Cleveland, Boston, the Seattle Pilots, and he made an appearance in Jim Bouton's infamous book, Ball 4, which, by the way, I would like to endorse. Ball 4 is the best baseball book I've ever read. It's written by a Major League player. It's a diary of a 1969 Seattle Pilots baseball season in which Bouton gets traded, he goes through a marriage, a divorce, he adopts a child. It's an incredible story about a real baseball player as he's journaling his thoughts and feelings about the season. It's an amazing book. Check it out. Buy it now. Gary Bell is Jim Bouton's best friend on the team. And Bouton says in Ball 4 that Gary is the kind of pitcher who's good for a team even when he's not pitching well. Basically, Bouton says that his friend Gary Bell is just a great guy, a great presence. He loves this man. And here's a story all about Gary Bell. So when Gary is playing for the Cleveland Indians, there's this clubhouse boy in the Indians clubhouse. His name is Billy Malone. And Billy was a prankster. And Billy hated Gary Bell. So Billy would just kind of mess with Gary Bell's clothes all the time. Like, Gary would come in after the game, and his clothes would be nailed to the ceiling, or his shoes would be stuffed in someone else's bag, or his ties would be just cut up with scissors. And it was all Billy's fault. And one day, Gary Bell comes into the clubhouse, and he's wearing a three-piece suit, a pork pie hat, nice brand new shoes. And Gary Bell is looking like a Hollywood 9 right now. He's looking great. So he walks in with his fancy suit before game. All their players are like, woo! He looks good, right? He looks good. He walks over to Billy Malone, the clubhouse boy, and he says, Billy, I'm taking my wife and some friends out to dinner to a fancy restaurant tonight. After the game, I've got to look good. Please do not mess with my clothes. Please don't touch them. Billy says, okay. And Gary says, no, Billy, I mean it. My clothes are right here. Do not touch any of them. And Billy's like, yeah, I got it. So after the game, Gary Bell comes back to his clubhouse. He comes back to his locker. And of course, his pants are missing. So Gary just blows a stack. He runs over, he finds Billy Malone, and he says, "All right, Billy, where are my pants?" And Billy's like, "I don't know, Gary. I don't know." And Gary's like, "You're lying. You're lying. Tell me where the pants are." And Billy's like, "I don't know, Gary. I don't know. I didn't touch your pants." So Gary and his catcher, Duke Sims, just grab Billy. They grab this little teenage boy, like 160 pounds, and pick him up. They throw him over their shoulders. They bring him to the team's whirlpool, the team's hot tub, and they just dunk him in there, head first. They basically waterboard Billy. They hold his head under the water, and they hold it there for about a minute. They bring Billy up, and he's soaking wet, sputtering. And they say, "All right, Billy, where are my pants?" And Billy's like, "Oh, no, I didn't touch him. I swear I didn't touch him." And Gary shoves him back in the water, again, this time for longer, this time for 2 minutes. After 2 minutes, they pull Billy out of the water, and Billy just points out of breath and just choking for air. And Gary's like, all right, Billy, where are my pants? Where are my pants?" And Billy says, Okay, I'll tell you. I'm wearing them. The entire time, Billy Malone was wearing Gary Bell's pants. Now, I'm reading the story in 2021, and to me, it's almost child abuse, right? I mean, like, you can't waterboard somebody because they stole your pants. But it was a different day back then, you know? That kind of stuff happened all the time. So, just a funny story. Where are my pants? I'm wearing them. That punchline comes out of nowhere. I thought that's pretty funny. And one time, this story about Carl Yastrzemski. So Yastrzemski is playing a game in Fenway, and the pitcher is a guy named Bill Montbouquet. Really pretty name, actually, a French name. Montbouquet has a problem giving him home runs. Montbouquet gives up like a home run a game. So he's playing Carl Yastrzemski, the all-time great left fielders in left field. Montbouquet winds up, delivers, and the batter smacks it. It goes 500 feet easy. And Yastrzemski doesn't even turn around. He doesn't even look over. He doesn't turn around. He just kind of just stretches, and that's it. No reaction. And Montbouquet is just pissed. He's angry that Yastrzemski didn't even try. So on dugout, Montbouquet's like, "Hey, man, that wasn't cool. The least you could have done is just make an effort. Just try to pretend that there was something going on there." And Yastrzemski says, "Well, what am I supposed to do? It ended up halfway onto the Alaskan Turnpike. I wasn't going to get that." And there's another pitcher, it was one time named Pedro Borbon. And Pedro Borbon was a pitcher for the Cincinnati Reds. And he pitched in the 1975 World Series between the Red Sox and the Reds. He was a Reds pitcher. Borbon was this angry Dominican pitcher who threw hard, had good stuff, but was a little bit kooky in the head. So Borbon, one time, gets traded from the Reds to the California Angels. And Pedro decides to buy a puppy. He purchases a beautiful Alaskan Malamute puppy. So after a week, where Pedro just takes pictures and shows his friends in the clubhouse, they go on a long road trip. And they're gone for like 12 days. Back to back to back. New York to Chicago to Los Angeles. I mean, they're not back in Anaheim for a long time. So Pedro, instead of going to rent a kennel or something, he just lays out a bunch of toilet paper, a bunch of newspapers across the house, a few extra bowls of food, some water, and that's it. He's gone. So when they get back to town, Pedro opens the door after 2 weeks, and the smell just wipes him out. So the puppy just goes everywhere. There is, how should I say this? There is some residue left all across the house, just everywhere. Just all across the house. On the furniture, on the sofa, the bed, the ceiling, just everywhere. And Pedro can't believe it. So he's like, bad Pedro, porque why'd you do this to Pedro? He's losing his stuff, and his teammates are just laughing at him. And Pedro, because the house was rented, the furniture was rented, At the end of the season, Pedro just asked the landlord to try to get his deposit back. I'm not a mind reader, but I'm guessing that didn't go very well. Can you imagine that? So, here's a funny story about baseball and politics, I guess. Now, this story isn't political, but it does involve world news and politics. So, bear with me. There's a guy named Dan Briggs who played outfield and first base for 7 years between the Angels, Indians, Padres, Expos, and Cubs. He tells a story that really illustrates how much times have changed. So Dan Briggs says that one time, when he was playing for the California Angels, Nolan Ryan got invited to the White House. He got invited because on Jimmy Carter's staff, there were many baseball fans, including Carter's press secretary, Jody Powell, who wanted to meet Nolan Ryan. And so Nolan asked Dan Briggs, Jerry Remy, and a few other friends to go to the White House the next time they play Baltimore, because Baltimore to Washington, D.C. isn't very far. So Nolan, when time came to visit the White House, was sick. But the other guys, Dan Briggs, Jerry Remy, other people, were like, hey, let's go anyway. So the team drives up in their residential cars to the White House. And the security lets them inside immediately. There's no ID check, there's no passport, there's no lie detector, no fingerprints. These guys who say they're baseball players get allowed into the White House immediately, which is just incredible to me. I would never expected that at all. So they get into the White House, right? And they weren't there for 5 minutes when Jimmy Carter walks past the entourage into the conference room. He's looking for a pencil or a notepad or something, but the players are just standing there. And the president of the United States is right there just saying, oh, hi, everybody, how's it going? And they can't believe it. And the ball players, I guess, are just unsupervised because they walk around. They take a tour. And Jerry Remy, the second baseman, walks to the podium and imitates Nixon talking about Watergate. And Remy had apparently read like 6 or 7 books about the Watergate incident. He was a quasi-expert about the Watergate break-in. And he imitated Nixon's speech perfectly from that day. And Dan Briggs says he did a good job about that. And next, Briggs and his teammates look in the garbage cans and look inside the trash bins. And when the secretaries ask them what they're doing, why are they looking at trash bins in the White House? They mention that they're looking for Nixon's lost tapes that would exonerate Nixon. It's a joke, but it was right in front of Jimmy Carter and his wife, Rosalind. And Walter Mondale is there. They get lunch, and they're eating with Walter Mondale at the White House chicken cordon bleu. And then there's a press conference that same day about the Panama Canal and the Panamanian-U.S. relationships, and teammates all sit down at that meeting just listening to foreign policy. And Dan Briggs actually raises his hand during the meeting, and even though he's not called on, he says that he was going to ask, well, do we really need the Panama Canal anyway, since all our ships won't even fit through there? So eventually, of course, teammates just leave and they go back to playing baseball, and Carter goes back to being the president of the United States. But the joke is that they were let in so easily. Like these days, I would never get anywhere near the kind of access. But now, because they're ball players, because of a different time, it was totally legal. That's baseball for you, man. That's baseball. And here's another one. And this one is a good story. It's about the infamous broadcaster for the Cubs named Harry Caray. And Harry Caray is one of those guys who's just a legend of baseball. If you talk to any Cubs fan in the late 80s or 90s, they will remember Harry Caray. Before he went to the Cubs, he was a longtime broadcaster of the St. Louis Cardinals. And he was a legend because he had this iconic voice. He was a crowd pleaser. He was energetic and passionate. He loved baseball. Harry Caray was the Cubs for a long time. But before that, he was the Cardinals broadcaster. And one day, he just gets in an accident. Harry Carey in the late 60s is hit by a car. He breaks both legs. It happens in November. And the next year, Harry Carey is rehabbing in St. Petersburg, Florida. And eventually, he makes it against all odds to the first game of spring training. So they're out there, right there, and in Florida. And Harry Carey makes a surprise appearance reading out the lineups on the field for the first day. So on the right side are the Cubs, on the left side are the Cardinals, and Harry Carey makes it onto the field. He makes it on the field and gets a standing ovation. And as he's there, wearing crutches, wearing a brace for both legs, Carey struggles, opens up a note card, and reads the lineups for that day. And the crowd's packed. And when Harry Carey announces the lineups, the crowd goes wild. And then Carey, his obligation being fulfilled, limps back to the dugout. And halfway through to the dugout, he stands up and just tosses one of his crutches to the side. And the crowd goes wild. And Harry Carey walks another 10 feet. And then he throws the second crutch to the right side. And the crowd is now on its feet. They're cheering, they're screaming. And Harry walks the rest of the walk to the dugout, totally free, both hands above his head. The crowd is losing it. Carey gets to the dugout, and the crowd gives him a standing ovation. Harry, Harry, Harry. And the dugout, Harry's just getting high fives and slaps on the back. Everyone's saying, awesome job, man, you inspired me. And Bob Gibson, the pitcher, says, hey, Harry, I saw you down in St. Petersburg like a week ago at a restaurant, and you didn't have any crutches. What was that all about just now? And Harry Carey tells Bob Gibson, Bob, that was show business. That was show business. Oh, God. Imagine doing that, man. That's some great energy, man. I love that. And I want to end this episode on a funny story. Half trivia question, half interesting tidbit. Before this episode started, if you asked me, I would have opined that the most valuable baseball card belonged to Honus Wagner, the T206 limited edition cigarette baseball card of Honus Wagner. But no, that's not the most expensive card in the world. The most expensive card is a card that many people don't even know exists. And that is the IG Sawamura baseball card. Now you're probably wondering, who is that? So IG Sawamura is Japanese baseball's most coveted and most famous baseball pitcher of all time. Sawamura was basically the Cy Young Award, or was basically the Cy Young of those times. And their version of the Cy Young Award these days is called the I.J. Sawamura Pitching Award, because he was just such a dominant pitcher for so many years. And Sawamura played baseball for 10 years in Japan. Then he went to go fight in World War II as a fighter pilot and died. So he is a legend, a hero in Japanese baseball. And his card, we know that one company one time printed a baseball card of him years before he went and died in that plane crash and the war. But there's no evidence it even exists, because we have a photograph of that card in a newspaper as verification that it existed, that they're advertising it. But we've never seen a single physical copy of the card. And we know at least one was printed, but we have no idea where the card is right now. And the thing is, the Japanese do not keep baseball cards as often as Americans do. So there's a good chance that it exists in someone's attic, or it got thrown out the same day it was made, or some American boy just bought it and forgot all about it. But somewhere out there, there's a baseball card of I.J. Sawamura that's worth more than $100,000. So if you find it, you may never have to work again. And that concludes today's episode, the April Fool's episode of Opening Day GSMC Baseball. My name is Graham Llivina. I'm your host, your best friend, hosting today's podcast. Thank you very much. Listen to more. Check out our sponsors. Keep watching only at the GSMC Baseball Podcast. Thank you very much.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.